This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Report says that 73% of Nigeria's youth do not trust the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC to conduct free and fair elections. This report discusses growing voter apathy among Nigeria's young people, which saw only 28% of the 87 million eligible voters in the country go out to the polls during the 2023 general elections. Joining the conversation is Faith Adaji, a data analyst at Zikoko Citizen, who was part of the team that worked on the report. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Thank you. Good morning.
To start with, can you give us a sense of the methodology of putting this report together?
All right. Thank you so much. So basically what we did was to we carried out a mixed study. When I say mixed study, that is we combined both qualitative and quantitative methods, research methods, whereby we had a structured survey. We surveyed young people, and then we also conducted key informant interviews with key stakeholders in the field. So basically, we conducted the structured interviews with young people between the ages of 18 to 35. And so we also conducted interviews with specialists on the field. We spoke to an artificial intelligence engineer, we spoke to a disinformation analyst, we spoke to a lecturer and a researcher, and also a cybersecurity analyst. So that's basically what we did. And as well as we also did like a text review where we looked at various literatures around misinformation and how it impacts young people. And that was what we used to come up with the findings that we have. Thank you.
So, even though we've taken our conversation from one of your insights, which is around the trust that Nigerian youth have for the Electoral Commission and for INEC, right? We understand that the entire report was around how young Nigerians navigate misinformation and digital threats. Can you give us a bit more insight into other key findings that the report highlights beyond the trust in INEC?
Okay, yes, definitely. So what we did was to, like I said, we know that in Nigeria, we have over 100 million people who use the internet based on statistics. And we realized that young people are relying heavily on social media for their information. But then with this digital shift, we've also noticed that there's a widespread of misinformation that is not just eroding their trust in an electoral institution and fueling political apathy, but it's also fueling social division, stereotype, and bigotry. So we also wanted to understand their perception when it comes to AI-generated content, when it comes to impersonation and cyber scams. And you'll be surprised that over 93% express their concerns around online safety and express their concerns around online safety. So probably the whole essence of this research was to identify those key challenges and also offer strategic solutions to be able to combat misinformation. Yeah, thank you.
Is there a correlation between, for instance, the 73% of youth who don't trust INEC and, say, the 62% of the youth who say that misinformation is discouraging them from political participation? Are these two data points correlational?
Yes, most definitely, because you would notice that the same number of young people, based on our data, that actually mentioned that, okay, from the 73.4% of Nigerian youths that stated that they do not trust INEC, you still see that they are still the same. There's still the same demography that still express their concern around misinformation.
So at the same time, I'm curious as to, well, I think the more direct question really would be, you've talked about how a large part of the respondents that you spoke to depend on social media for their information. I wonder if what sort of shift this indicates, and whether it is possible to reverse, well, two things. One, the trend of disinformation that's available on social media, as well as whether you have any pointers for, I would say, reputable media towards getting the young people who have turned to social media to actually trust the sources that they can verify.
Thank you so much for that question. So basically, we also found out that 92.5% of these surveyed young people spend over 3 hours on social media, and from this same demography, we also found out that they mostly strut social media platforms like Twitter. Most of them engage more on Twitter and Facebook, and even rely more on Twitter for their news. And even at that, we had a growing concern that only 5.1% fully trust digital media for news. And so this is actually a very dicey situation, that even though we have over 92% of young people that spend over 3 hours on social media, we only have just 5%, right, that actually even trust this digital media for their news. And so it shows that media institutions, we actually need to do better, because still from these reports, you find out that only about 74% of surveyed young people are saying that government and the CSOs are not doing enough when it comes to combating misinformation. And so part of our recommendation, we stated that it would be very, very important for CSOs, professional journalists, and media houses to carry out public awareness on digital safety, digital literacy, especially on these platforms where young people most engage, where young people are engaging with. So it is very, very important for us to carry out our campaigns, carry out whatever strategy that we want to come up with. We should do it on the platform that these young people are mostly engaging with. Thank you.
Adaji, thank you so much for your time and expertise on this conversation. Faith Adaji is a data analyst who is part of the team at Zikoko Citizen that put out a report which shows that 73% of Nigeria's youth do not trust the Independent National Electoral Commission to conduct free and fair elections. It's a report that also looks at voter apathy as well as the trend of disinformation and misinformation on social media.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.